It's time now for us to delve into that issue. It's a bit of a tussle between the Attorney General's office and the Special Prosecutor's office. Now, the Special Prosecutor had requested the money laundering probe into Cecilia Dapaah, but the AG is now saying that is baseless. Where does that leave the fight against corruption? And is the fight against corruption being stampeded by the very custodians, the very people who say we want to fight corruption? Well, we'll get into the details with our guests, but in the studio with me is Sweetie Abochi. We're also joined by Mary Ada of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, and we'll also have Vitas Azim, an anti-graft campaigner, joining the conversation. But let me start with Mary Ada. You have been integral in the work of the Special Prosecutor. You've been on the board and all of that. How do you react to this response coming from the Attorney General?
Thank you so much, and good morning, Ben. Good morning to the other colleagues on the show this morning.
Sweetie Abochi is
particularly my boss, my former boss, Mr. Azim. I would want to say that even though it's very disappointing, we didn't expect anything different. My only point of regret is the fact that Yoko, we know, works under the AG's office, and so they would want advice from them. But I was expecting as well that they would carry on to such a time that when they needed advice to proceed to prosecution, then they would do this. But then it is what it is. It is very unfortunate. Let me not mince words at all. The impression this is creating is the fact that we can always get away with anything, particularly when it comes to issues around allegations of corruption, because we would use the weaknesses in the regime or the legal regime to get away with them. And this goes to confirm what the president said, because he was speaking from the point of view of authority, and perhaps our laws were not robust enough. And so when he was clearing Cecilia Dapaah, he knew where he was coming from. So it's sad, but it is what it is from our current legislations and our current works. Unfortunately, we were believing that Yoko could have taken this up from another angle when you look at their law. When you look at sections 1(3) of the current anti-money laundering law, you'll see that they could have done a lifestyle audit to also establish. But then there are other issues we can be speaking to as we go forward.
So let me ask you this. You said some very interesting things. You just suggested that from where you sit, Yoko could have done more. The question is, why not? You have said here that you didn't expect anything different apart from what has happened. The question is, why? Again, you say that you are disappointed. It all feeds into a certain picture. You saw this coming and you realized that the rhetoric was not going to match the fight. Is that what you're saying?
Certainly, looking from the point of view of this report that we have from the AG's office, if you look at what it has said, it says, one, that the Yoko did not receive a copy of the report on the OSP's investigation. Again, they did not disclose the basis of the suspicion of the commission of the offense of ML. Again, they did not share the collaborative report as to what they did with the BNI, which informed their conclusions that Yoko was the best fit to carry out this investigation. And then, if you look at, so the point is that if this was supposed to be done, then how come we didn't all the information that was necessary to allow the Yoko to stand on a firm basis and initiate this investigation from a very informed perspective. Let me concede that was not a negative effect at all. If the investigative body like Yoku, who has the powers to initiate the lifestyle audit per the allegations that were made, I don't know why Yoko also didn't pick this up and they didn't do it. And so that is where we are saying it's disappointing. And then if you look at our law, as we have continuously spoken to, the Criminal Offences Act, it comes in very short when it comes to the issues around corruption, because there are certain behaviors that people would get away from. So that's where we were saying from the initial stages, we knew we wouldn't be surprised at all if something like this comes up. But then we believe that Yoko would do a good job of this by starting with the lifestyle audit, which clearly the Anti-Money Laundering Act provides for when you look at Section 1(3) of it.
Would you say that we've missed the opportunity to interrogate this further? I mean, now that the Attorney General is saying there's no basis to interrogate corruption or any criminal activity here, would you say by closing the case, as the special prosecutor did, we've missed the opportunity to actually interrogate this further and also returning the money to Cecilia Dapaah and the husband?
So let me also quickly say that the OSP did not close the case. The court order was the one that specifically requested the OSP to return the confiscated funds and others to the suspect. In this case, Madam Cecilia Dapaah. So the OSP did not do it on its own, but on authorization of a competent court of jurisdiction. So for us, we do not say that it is the OSP who closed. But then there are always opportunities. I've mentioned the lifestyle audit as one. And then the Attorney General's office itself requested or directed the police to, at the time, institute investigations that would be on some of the matters. And I know for a fact that they are continuing, unless, of course, they say they have also come to conclusions which we haven't heard. I know for a fact that the police are also investigating. And this does not close the docket that conclusively. It's not a court which says so that you would say they cannot reinitiate this. If there is hope, and we are telling Yoko that they can do a lifestyle audit, we are saying that the Attorney General could also even institute that if the OSP does not have jurisdiction over this. This is very important for the citizens of Ghana, because if we continue to chart this path, then what we are saying is that people can go on, do what they want, start cash in their home, in envelopes, in little bits of it, without explaining where they get it from. They can get away with it. And this is not what the president promised the people of Ghana. He promised the people of Ghana to fight corruption and fight it like the Constitution put out in Article 35(8) when it stated that the state shall put in steps or measures to fight corruption and abuse of power.
Right.
So we believe that a lot more can be done, and the institutions of state should take a cue, because I believe citizens deserve better than what has happened so far.
All right, Miranda, please hold for me. Let me now bring in Vitus Azim, who is an anti-corruption campaigner. Vitus, from where you sit, how does this sit with our fight against corruption? The Attorney General is saying there's no basis for any criminal activity or to even interrogate or investigate any crime here. How does this sit for our fight against corruption?
It defeats the fight against corruption. And that's what I've even said, that nobody's fighting corruption in this country. We just speak about it. We're not fighting corruption. The matter did not need to go to the Attorney General at this stage. EYOCO could have just even put aside the referral of the Office of Special Prosecutor and investigated this matter on its own. It is when the EYOCO has gathered the evidence and now wants to prosecute that is supposed to send it to the Attorney General for his advice. So for the attorney to say they don't need to investigate, I don't think there's a basis for that. Well, let me say I'm not a lawyer, but I think that they were jumping the gun because we are not fighting corruption. EYOCO needed to do its investigations and present that to the Attorney General, but not to just use the referral from the Office of the Special Prosecutor and ask for advice. They're a technical body that should have known what to do and not just will depend on the advice of the Attorney General at this stage of the investigation.
Now, if I may just ask, some would say that some of these actions fly in the face of the fight against corruption. I don't know whether you would agree, but is this another justification for decoupling the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, so that the Attorney General can go ahead, play the role representing government in legal matters, and the Minister of Justice can then, in such instances, represent the people? Is this yet another justification for the decoupling of that office?
It has always been a justification for decoupling the two positions. And see, unfortunately, when this president was in opposition and campaigning, he promised to decouple the two positions. But then when he came to power, he said, it was a constitutional it required a constitutional amendment. And in any case, one wonders what prevents us from carrying out a constitutional amendment to ensure that those positions are decoupled. So it is a strong justification that the Attorney General is a politician appointed by the president, owes his allegiance to the president, and also some loyalty to his or her colleague political ministers or appointees. And that's what makes it difficult for the Attorney General to actually do his or her work. We need a really independent public prosecutor who is not a politician.
We have the special prosecutor, and that brings me to that question. Has the special prosecutor's office, or the office of the special prosecutor, has it also lived to expectation in this matter? Because guess what? The Attorney General states that there was a request for advice by EYOCO on the matter. The AG's office, in a letter dated the 25th of April 2024 and copied to EYOCO, said it found that the OSP did not submit the report on its collaborative investigation to EYOCO. Additionally, the office noted that the OSP had not responded to EYOCO's request for its findings. Should we lay some of the blame at the doorstep of the special prosecutor's office?
Yes, I think so, because if you were passing the case on to EYOCO, you needed to give, and you wanted EYOCO to work on what you had already, to build on what you had already done, then you needed to give to EYOCO all the information that you have. If you fail to do that, then of course there was suspicion that either you did a poor job or you did not want EYOCO to use the information, the evidence that you found, to continue with the action. And these are some of the things that happen when it comes to investigating high-profile cases. It refers to about 2 or 3 institutions who muddy the waters. And that's a very unfortunate situation. We cannot take Office of Special Prosecutor completely off blame. Because some of us even think that EYOCO did not need Office of Special Prosecutor did not need all this length of time to determine that the matter was within its mandate. We wasted more than 7 months for Office of Special Prosecutor to come out and say that, well, it's money laundering and it doesn't fall within our mandate, so we're referring it to EYOCO. But I also want to say that EYOCO can put aside or could have put aside all the information from Office of Special Prosecutor and carried out its own investigation before then taking it to the Attorney General for advice as to whether to proceed for prosecution based on the evidence that is gathered or not.
Mr. Azim, thank you very much for having joined the conversation. Vitus Azim is an anti-graft campaigner. Thank you very much. Shortly, we'll also be joined by Dr. Richard Amwakoba, a political scientist. We'll also be joined by Kwaku Paintsil, a lawyer. But before we get to them, Mariada, do you agree with Vitus Azim that it appears we have to decouple the office of the not the special prosecutor, the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice as one of the steps towards regulating the fight against corruption? Is that a call you are supportive of?
And so, if you would remember, this has been the call civil society has made, and this actually featured as one of the strong recommendations during the constitutional review process, which didn't see the light of day, if I may say. And we have mentioned that our issues with the fight against corruption have, to a large extent, been with the Article 88, for which makes the Attorney General a sole state, and also in the Minister of the makes because prosecute his own. That is why the Ghana Integrity Institute and civil society.
Madam Mariada, we're struggling. The connection seems to be breaking for about some.
All right, so I'm saying that this proposition is why civil society believes that the Article 88(4) should be decoupled so that the Attorney General has the proposition and the result that remains resolved. And that's why the Ghana Integrity led that 2017 when it came to the proposal of the MP to set up an office that clearly would support prosecution of corruption, the case and prosecution of corruption, and at the office of the special prosecutor. However, that is an interim measure because the final one would be that we have the Attorney General, who is a unique office prosecuting for the state. That would be the ideal situation.
Okay.
And so such a time that we have the ideal, we continue to support that the office of the special prosecutor be the stopping measure that is put in place. And that is how come GRI led this charge in 2017 with other civil society organizations to get the law and the office set up.
Right. Hold for me, Mariada. Let me also bring into the conversation Dr. Richard Amwakoba. He's a political scientist. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. We also have Kwaku Paintsil. He's a lawyer. Mr. Paintsil, good morning. Hello, Mr. Paintsil.
It's me.
Yes.
It's still me.
Can you hear me, Mr. Paintsil?
You have to unmute if you can.
You have to unmute, Mr. Paintsil.
Whoa. Yes, sir. Good morning. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just hold for me, Mr. Paintsil. So let me bring in Dr. Richard Amwakoba. You have followed the issues, and now the OSP's request for that money laundering probe against Cecilia Dapaah has been jettisoned. The AG has directed IOCO not to comply and that it is baseless. Your reaction?
It's just unfortunate, amazing to say the least. The person who is supposed to protect the nation is the one who is joining the looters, as you say. It is not appropriate. He has not said one thing that protects the state. At least he should be talking about tax evasion of such an amount. Has he said anything? Nothing. And then his counterpart is the one doing the work. Instead of helping him, he is putting impediments in his way. Where did the lady get the money from? That's the first question. It's an obvious question.
You don't get such an amount of money selling peanuts on the street or having funeral donations or anything like that. And yet, you don't ask such questions. Money laundering is not just an expression in English that shows that somebody is claiming money. It has a connotation of criminality. Where did you get the money from? And since you were working for the government, it must be assumed that it is at least government money or money that was supposed to not supposed to be taken from someone.
But Dr. Mwakuba, she just clarify for me before I ask the next question. Did you say the person to protect the nation has joined the looters? Is that what he said?
He is protecting the person who's supposed to prosecute.
Okay. But in terms of justification, you know, there was a number of there were many justifications given in terms of how the wealth was acquired, from keeping the money for someone to, work that had been done by her husband and all of that. You did hear of those, right?
Oh, I can give you 1,000 justifications. I sold peanuts. So what? What is justification? We are talking about reasonable justification, not just any justification. You can say whatever you want. You understand? You get millions of dollars. Funeral donations are made in dollars. What are we talking about? Don't we have any shame as if we don't have any sense? That thing is obvious. He has justification, fine. Let's hear it. Is it reasonable? Is it reasonable? That's the simplest question you can ask. No, it isn't. And if you got the money, say from Galamsey, that's possible that you can make that much money, but it's still illegal. You're not talking about any of that. What are we talking about? You are playing here, just making ridicule of the whole issue. What's going on? I don't understand it. You see, the Attorney General is supposed to protect the public purse. He should do it first, even before the special prosecutor. If you are not doing it and he is doing it, why are you putting impediments in his way? What justification do you have? Did they see the money? Look, let me tell you this. Legally, money has no rights. You understand? Money in itself has no rights. If the police stops you and find a lot of money in your car, they ask you where does the money come from, and you are not able to substantiate where it comes from, they can seize the money. Take it to the police station. I'm not talking about here in this country. They'll take the money and share it. They'll take the money to the police station and invite you later to come and substantiate where it came from. And if your substantiation is sound reasonable, they give your money back to you. If it is not, the money is arrested. Then you have to go to court to prove it's yours. If you are not able to prove, it's confiscated. Very simple.
But you also can't just hang Cecilia Dapaah because she had the money. Of course, the problem is the interrogation into the source of the money.
I'm talking about her money. Her money, not she herself. I'm talking about her money. Cecilia Dapaah gives rights to the money. He's the one who speaks for the money. And since he has not said anything that is justifiable, it's not her money.
So the money should be seized by the state?
Yes, until she proves how she got it. That's how it works. This is what the main tool used to fight corruption. That's the main tool.
But you know, her accounts were frozen by the special prosecutor. And then her lawyers pleaded that it was causing hardship for her. And then the courts ruled that her accounts be unfrozen. That is where we are. That's how we got here.
So what? So everything the court says is right? We don't think ourselves? But we are in big trouble if you behave this way. Even you press people. You have to look at it.
I get the point you're making, but in the end, the buck stops at the courts. No one can take the law into their hands.
It doesn't matter. Every decision the court makes is right. Are you saying we haven't seen people taking votes for decisions? We haven't seen it? Have you forgotten? Just because the court has said something, I'm not going to accuse them. Okay, fine. Let's talk about it.
Dr.
Present your evidence. Yes.
It took 7 months of investigations in collaboration with the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States. And after that investigation, they concluded that they have no basis to probe further, although they suspected a case of money laundering. If it's a case of power play, are you saying that the influence of Cecilia Dapaah and all the other players involved in this money reaches up to the FBI, or have both the FBI and the OSP and now the AG in this advice to Yoko failed us?
Oh, please, don't tell me about the FBI as if they have some magical powers. Just because when FBI come and say you have no justification, so-called justification, if you have no justification, show us. She should tell us where it came from. If you have such amount of money in your home, it is no justification because we don't keep such amount of money at the home. It's at the bank. If it's not the bank, that alone gives you right to ask questions, proper questions. So what? We have these agencies. They know everything.
All right, please hold for me. Let me now bring in Kwaku Paintsil, who is a lawyer. I'm sure you've been following the conversation up to this point. My question to you is,
please.
at this juncture, is it clear how we proceed from this point?
At least from the letter that the Attorney General has written, I'm not too sure I agree with everything in the letter, but in the concluding part of his letter, he gives an impression that the matter is still with the police for investigation. That is the impression that I get. And that will possibly provide the third avenue or the third link or the third whatever for this matter to be looked into. And that's my understanding of the concluding part of his letter. So we'll say that maybe the story has not ended on Cecilia Dapaah. But besides and beyond the Attorney General's
Kwaku Paintsil, my apologies, Benjamin here. Because you said, before you go on, because you said you agreed with some of what the AG has said and you disagreed with others, I just want you to clarify before you go on. Which parts do you agree with? Which parts don't you agree with?
No, the part that he said the matter is with the police and the police will continue with the investigation suggests clearly that the matter has not been closed fully. In other words, if the police investigation comes up with evidence on the basis of which they can do the prosecution, that will be it. That is the portion that gives an impression that the matter has not closed. But the reasons that the Attorney General has given for somehow closing the part that is before, is it Yoko? It's not satisfactory. I mean, in my honest view, the special prosecutor, it was by a court order that he himself eventually withdrew the case against the Cecilia Dapaah for the several obstacles that he was facing, including the allegation that his office is not equipped or is not mandated to investigate what he purported to investigate. That's my understanding. That's on the basis of that all the monies that Cecilia Dapaah had or had been confiscated were given to her. And that's my understanding. That's how the OSP withdrew from the matter. Then he transferred the case to Yoko. And Yoko purported or not purported have written to the Attorney General seeking advice. Now the accusation against the OSP is that he did not deliver together with the reference or the evidence that he had gathered up to that point. That cannot, in my view, be a proper reason or proper argument for support of the recommendation to the Yoko not to proceed with the matter. Because Yoko, once they are seized with the matter, in law, you start what we call private fancy. Private fancy is just elementary. In other words, anything that raises a suspicion. And I associate myself with the comments of the last speakers on this issue, that if you found $1 million with me, I'm a lawyer, fair enough. But I just can't own that $1 million because you found it with me. I have a duty to demonstrate that I earned that $1 million, to show the record, show the account, show what sources from where the money came. That is how this business of money laundering has its basic definition. That's how it operates. And anybody can own anything, go about. The burden shift. Once the money is found with you and the suspicion is with you, have the burden. It's a strict liability offense. And you must demonstrate how you got the money. You don't get the money because the prosecution is unable to prove that you took off a particular source. So let's get back. You asked me a specific question. So the point I'm making is that with regard to the Attorney General's advice on the reason why he thinks he must dismiss the case before Yoko, I don't think it's proper. Yoko has a duty. You cannot blame the special prosecutor for not placing all the evidence. Maybe sometimes does not. Sometimes does not want to prejudice your investigation. If I do an investigation, we're entitled to everything that's on the record. One would reasonably have expected that the OSP would have added whatever evidence that he had. But if he did not, I will not fault him. If he did not, there's nothing in law that compels him. It's possible that he wanted you to do your own investigation, come to your own findings, and come to your own conclusions. So nobody really can make an issue of what the OSP did or did not do. The real issue is once the matter has come before Iyoko is bound by law and is on the duty to conduct every investigation that is entitled to hold. And the basic, for me, is how did this woman come by that money? That is the basic. In law, it's a duty you owe. You, everybody, including you, sitting there. If we come to your house, we find more money than your salary gives you, it's a reasonable distance to start investigations.
Right. Kwaku Paintsil. So are you saying, therefore, that we've missed that opportunity? And I asked this question to Madam Maria Daeli. I'm asking you the same question. Now that the money has already been returned to the suspect, Madam Cecilia Dapaah and the husband, are you saying that we've missed the opportunity to probe the source of this money in the ongoing investigations by Yoko, even on the back of the advice by the Attorney General?
Not at all. We have not missed the opportunity. The law is quite clear on this matter. The fact that the money was found, if the matter has to go on, they have to justify how they came by the money. And the mere fact that the money has been released to them, if they spend it or if they somehow find a way of vanishing it. And I'm referring to the case of what do you call it? This is a Boating whose matter is in court. Don't forget that he managed to receive, I'm talking about a PPA, public procurement, the public procurement. Very right. All the money was in court. He seized it, and eventually he managed to self-settle the case and managed to get all the money released to him. And now he has been charged with it by the OSP. And if the OSP is able to establish that that money that was found in him, whatever he has done with it now is irrelevant. It can be established that all that money was in his account at a particular time, and if he's unable to justify the source or how he got that money, it will be a matter for the court to make appropriate orders. So the mere fact that the money has been released to Cecilia Dapaah will not inhibit or stop the court from making proper findings and proper orders if this matter would see the light of the day at all. In other words, having regard to the last paragraph, the agency letter that the police is investigating, whether indeed, if the police finds enough evidence for her to go to court, for the state to go to court in any particular way. I'm not prejudicing a hearing of this matter, but assuming for the sake of our discussion that somehow that investigation they claim the police is making, if it has to go to court, the result of the meeting has to go to court, and the court has to find the evidence that the money that was found with Cecilia Dapaah and her husband, they could not justify. That's the word I'm using. When money is found, you have a duty to justify the source of that money. There's no growth in our roots. And because of the perception of corruption, especially with political figures, please, I'm not saying she's corrupt, but I have to clarify this point that the worst corruption in every country, including Ghana, especially in Africa, is found with politicians. I'm not making a corrupt person. It is only for a court of law to make that decision. But that alone is private fancy evidence. That when you find money beyond the reasonable reason of a politician, you must know that you got it from some other sources. Other than that, the burden shifts to you, who has the money, to demonstrate very clearly how you got it. What is happening now is that so far, everything that is going on up to date is wishy-washy. In other words, somehow, Our Lady has found the protection of the courts, and in everything that has taken place, nobody has raised the question. No court is interested in finding out how she got the money. The courts have been, proceeding as if finding whatever money with anybody is a regular thing, and that is rather the prosecutor who must demonstrate if the money. This is a case where it is not so. Who has been found with the money, you've got a duty to demonstrate that you had it from good sources, you had it from genuine sources, you had it and you can justify. Other than that, that money, in my honest view, that money should not have been released to her except on the occasion that the OSP withdrew the case against her, and at that time, no charges have been filed against her.
Right.
But I don't want to go on that time.
Mr. Paintsil, so I completely get what you're saying, because even we sitting in the studio fall in that same category, politically exposed people,
yes,
to some extent. And so even if some transaction came through Sweetie's account or my account, immediately there will be some questions and all of that. So if it happens to us, why does it not happen to them? Maybe that could explain why some money was not at the bank, but was in somebody's room. But you made a point, and we're sticking to that point. No one is accusing her of being corrupt. But has she been able to justify how she acquired those sums of money? That is where the devil is. Which brings me to this question. If then you look at it, do you agree that if she cannot prove justifiably, the reasonable man cannot assume that what she's saying is justified in terms of the source of the wealth, then the state should clamp down on that wealth?
There is clear law on this matter. All the laws that we are quoting on everything that we have said clearly demonstrates, clearly shows that nobody in this country can have access to money that he cannot demonstrate well, how and where he or she got it from. There are enough laws in this country. And what appears to me, unfortunately, is that the discourse today, everything that has happened today, including the Attorney General's letter, seems to trivialize the issue. Seems to trivialize that issue. We are trivializing the issue, and I'm sorry, I cannot say because she's a politician. I wouldn't know if you find yourself in that position, the same argument should be made in your favor. But the way I see it as a lawyer is that somehow something is going wrong. Somehow something is going wrong. And all this discourse and all these long letters about the terminating this matter. Come on, with the OSP, he has given you what he has. Investigation about this serious matter is only based on prima facie. And even I'm talking about Yoko, I can't even see what they were looking for, that they write to the Attorney General, whether they're writing for advice or what they write. They do not know that the basic level that if they were, as far as the Attorney General said that they requested the OSP to deliver, so he did not. And so what? You mean you can't start your own investigation on the same matter? For the reason, for the refusal of the OSP to deliver, and actually justify why the OSP may want to do that, because he wants to give a fresh opportunity for you to start your own investigation from the beginning without prejudice from what his office has found, which may be said, having regard to the history of this case, that it may taint your own view of the matter. So I have a difficulty appreciating or understanding how and why the Attorney General will make that remark that the OSP did not cooperate with them. What is he supposed to cooperate with you for? He went to court and the court threw him out. He even done well by sending some materials to you. And that material, those materials, if they are not sufficient, come on.
Right.
You got a whole state apparatus to assist you. So I mean, personally, as a Ghanaian, I'm not too sure I'm satisfied. And as a lawyer, I think that what they are doing is wishy-washy.
All right. Let me bring back Dr. Makoba. Dr. Makoba, Kwaku Paintsil says something is wishy-washy, something is not right. My question to you is, do you get a sense of some sort of influence or power play in this case?
We have the powers that be. For example, if the president puts his mouth in this matter, people will sit up, but he's quiet. He's a lawyer, he knows what's going on. This money laundering issue, this is the number one method of stopping it. Proving where you got the money from or lose it. In the U.S., people lose their whole house, homes, Because you can't prove where you got the money to buy it if it comes up. It's not that the police going around asking everybody where did you get the money. No. But if your issue comes up, and that is a legitimate question, then you have to prove it because you've been involved in other criminality. Well, you lose the house. It's very simple. If this is a legitimate money, why can't you show us where you got it from? That's a very simple question. Is it hard to understand? You did some work here, you have papers, that will prove it. But what I want to say is this. In this country, we have seen that if you don't find hard evidence against someone, then whatever he says is right. What? It means you are dead. No wonder nothing works. And the court rule that gives the money to the lady. Fine. Does it mean that the court is right? Not necessarily. Investigation is going on, they have not exhausted it, and you say keep the money to it. This is the number one tool they use to stop this corruption, this form of corruption. You understand? And then you want to justice in the whole thing and give it to her. And then when they find out, okay, you have to get it back, okay, you're giving it to somebody. Where's the money? What are you going to say? Yeah, you can make it hard for her, but the money is gone. That makes no sense at all. One arm of government is protecting the purse, the other is supporting those who want to pay the purse. How is it going to work? What about tax evasion? Has the Attorney General actually asked one single time that anything about tax evasion? If you have this much money, you have to prove the taxes you paid for the money. That alone will show you direction you have to take, that this is not legitimate money. You can show that. Why are the taxes you pay for this amount of money? Why?
Gentlemen, let's cap off the conversation here. For me, my final bit, as I even take your final words, I'd like to look at the semblance of a lack of collaboration between the institutions of state. Now, where do you feel, I'm going to put some institutions before you, and how you feel they have fared in dealing with these issues? It's for both Dr. Kwaku. I'll start with you, Dr. Kwaku, and lawyer Kwaku Paintsil. The AG's office, and also for Mary Ada of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, my apologies. The AG's office, where have they got it wrong? IOCO, where have they got it wrong or got it right? OSP, and finally, the courts. I'll start with you, Dr. Richard Amwakoba, then go to Mary Ada and cap it off with Kwaku Paintsil. Doc.
Well, the AG sets the tone. Actually, she's supposed to be the prosecuting agent. And if he says there's not enough case to prosecute, what are you fighting with him for? You won't come to anything, it means you are wasting time. That is the problem. IOCO follows the lead of the AG. And if the AG itself is not interested in the case, why should IOCO be? That's the question. After IOCO does all the investigation, who's going to prosecute? So the fact comes to the AG. And what is shocking is the special prosecutor is supposed to be the counterpart of the AG. In fact, they're supposed to work together. But in this case, the AG is going left, special prosecutor going right. What is going on? Who in the normal sense can have this much money at home, not afraid of burglary or anything else, or maybe is more afraid of the bank than the burglar? What's going on here? This is logic. When this things call for logic, we talk about technicality. What is the substance of the case? Where did you get the money from? It's very simple. If you prove that, the money is yours. Why are we talking about this at all? Is this difficult to prove? Who gets money without any sort? Is it what? Is it who do money or what? I don't understand it. Okay. That logic alone will tell you, hey, this is a very simple case. Don't make it complicated. What right. You want one, you want that one. You have it first, and you pay taxes. If I'm just taking the tax, I'll not put that question. This because they go tax.
Doc, thank you for those points. Let me bring in Mary Ada on that same point.
So, thank you very much, Ben. I believe that one of the things that has happened in recent that is supposed to ensure that the anti-corruption institutions of states work together very well is the collaborative grouping that was facilitated by Shraj some time ago. And I know for sure that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has also come on board recently. So what is it? All these institutions are supposed to be serving a certain interest with very distinct mandates. Sometimes some of them look alike, and so you see that there are issues of theft wars and others. But that collaborative space was to ensure that they understand each other, they know what is happening from each institution's point of view at any particular point with an investigation, and then they look at who has more of the capacity to take up that issue. And so there have been issues where the police is investigating, the OSP is doing same, the Yoko is doing same, and maybe Shrag as well doing same. These institutions should look at who has more capacity to be able to take up that issue to get the results that the people of Ghana need. At the end of the day, we are talking about what would happen or who will get the best results out of all of this for us. So for us, we do not want to say that the Attorney General is a last resort, and that's why Yoko should, for me, I believe, go to the Attorney General after they have investigated, and then they want advice on how to proceed. The Special Prosecutor is there to deal with issues on corruption and corruption-related offenses. Yoko is there to deal with issues with financial crime and money laundering and countering terrorist financing are part of it. So let's have clear distinctions when these institutions are working. But let's see them work more collaboratively together through this collaborative mechanism that has been set up. Work on issues, meet, discuss, and take up the issues from there. And then we will be seeing some results. Otherwise, we'll continue to see this, people checking their responsibility when things go bad or when they believe that they cannot make any gain when it comes to the court system. And I think that this is a very good platform that we should be using. There we harness our synergies, we capitalize on the various trends, and then we sharpen the edge of our investigations and get better results for the people of Ghana.
Marietta, thank you so much. Let me now bring in finally Kwaku Paintsil. You have the final word on these institutions and how they are fared in dealing with this matter.
I'll talk about that. I'll put things in perspective. You will notice that this case first came to light because Cecilia Dapaah herself took May 7th or whatever to court for the alleged stealing of this fund. That's how this matter came to light in the first place. Right. Question is, up to that time, about 3 months or so, they claimed that the incident had taken place. What was our prosecutorial offices doing? All of them. That's point number one. Number two, the first person ever to comment on this matter was when Cecilia Dapaah, after this expose, she tendered her resignation and it took the President of the Republic to commend her for her work and to say and to hope that she will leave this matter unscathed. That was an unfortunate remark. Then SFO came in, and of all the people, I would like to commend SFO. I want to be very straight on that matter. They did, is it SFO? I'm talking about Ajabe's office. They made every effort and they did all what, in my view, a reasonable prosecutor ought to do, except that at every stage of the matter, they were stopped by the courts. And indeed, and in fact, as a way of commentary, I still cannot find the justifiable or legal basis for the court's effort to stop Ajabe at every point. And of all the state institutions, I think the worst culprit is the Attorney General. Because in spite of the differences, in spite of definition as to who must do what, I believe that the Attorney General has got enough power under the Constitution to initiate and to do and supervise all the investigations of crime that are happening in this country. And I would put the Attorney General as the worst culprit in this ongoing saga. And we hope, as the Attorney General himself has said in the concluding part of this letter, that the matter is with the police. I'm hoping that he's having a direct eye with the police service to ensure that they bring a report that is, sufficient enough for them to determine the next course of action. Ghana, everybody is watching, as people will say, with eagle eyes to see what is going to come out of the police investigation. And this investigation is being done against the background of what Yoko has, Special Prosecutor has done. Yoko did nothing. In fact, after Attorney General, maybe Yoko is the worst of all the culprits. That's the way I would put it. That they have a whole office, they write to the Attorney General to teach them what to do in a matter of this nature. I cannot believe that they know exactly what the law requires them to do. This is my view of this whole subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining the conversation. So you just heard Kwaku Paintsil. He's a lawyer. He's been very passionate about this issue, sharing his thoughts there. We also had, joining the conversation, Dr. Richard Amwakoban, a political scientist, also very vehement on this matter. Mary Ada is with the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Before that, we also had, joining the conversation, Vitus Azim, an anti-graft campaigner. Sweetie, before we wrap on this subject, interesting convo. And,
yes. My question,
I guess for all of us, we are wondering, what next?
What next, then? And whether the Yoko is going to heed this advice by the Attorney General and, what they do with it. It's interesting that such huge amounts of money can, like the man said, wishy-washy. There's something going on that's
If they found that money under your bed, like by now, you wouldn't be on this.
You think I'm here?
Well, stay with us. We'll be right back on the AM show.